In the heart of wild Africa, kingdoms rise and fall. They sing of their kings who did not wear crowns of gold to define them, but manes stained with the dust of battles and the blood of rivals. Their thrones were not built of stone, but were formed from vast lands where the echo of their power resounded and where it was declared that they were under the rule of the strongest, under the rule of the lion. The last decade was not merely a span of time, but a stage for the rise and fall of giants, lions whose lives were true epics, chapters of strategy, drama, and absolute power. Their stories became legends, whispered by safari guides, and immortalized in the memory of everyone who dared to look into the eyes of a true king. And today, we will not merely recite names. We will dive into the depths of these epics and reveal the secrets of hearts to crown the greatest and most legendary among the lions that walked this earth during the past decade. This is not just a list, but a history of the immortals, where every name has a story and every rank has a reason. Stay with us until the end to witness the epic of the kings of the wild who changed the history of lions. Rank 19, The Last Night, Tullmore. Our journey begins in one of the harshest places on earth, where we find a king of green plains, a ghost forged in hell. He was named Tullmore, born on the Skeleton Coast in the Namib Desert, where the burning dunes meet the Atlantic Ocean. Thus, to be a lion here is a miracle in itself. He and his 4 brothers, the Knights, formed a legendary coalition. They learned to hunt seals along the shores and giraffes among the dunes. They were living proof of nature's ability to adapt. But their kingdom collided with the world of humans. Bullets, fences, and poisoned bait. Human tactics that wiped out his bloodline. 4 of the 5 knights fell. As for Tullmore, the sole survivor, he was carried away to save him. But the heart of a king does not recognize artificial safety. It recognizes home. And so, in an impossible journey, he crossed 200 kilometers through the desert back to his homeland, only to find the bleached bones of his brothers under the sun. But he did not surrender. He built a new pride and prospered for a moment. Yet the call of the past led him again to the conflict zone, and there his epic ended with the silence of a treacherous bullet. The greatness of Tullmore came from his legendary resilience against an enemy he could not, for a long time, defeat. Rank 18, The Story of Redemption, Oawa. From the cruelty of the desert, we move to the depths of a king's soul. Here, in the Sabi Sand Reserve, the cradle of one of the strongest coalitions in history. From their noble blood, a prince was born whose destiny was glory, but he first needed to know the meaning of disgrace and defeat. This lion was born with a golden spoon in his mouth. He was beautiful, majestic, but untested. And when the real test came, in the form of a coalition of 6 males hungry for power, Oawa failed to confront them and fled. From a distance, he watched his world collapse as his cubs were slaughtered and his lionesses violated. For 6 months, he lived as a ghost in the shadows. But pain and shame forged within him a warrior who does not retreat. He returned from his exile, challenged the new king, and this time he triumphed with merit. He was no longer the same weak, fleeing lion, and Oawa, who had seen his sons killed, broke the brutal cycle of violence. Instead of killing his enemies' cubs, he protected them and cared for them as his own. His mercy surprised everyone, and he carried no grudge against the young, despite the cruelty of his suffering. Rank 17, The Biological Enigma, Calamus. Our journey now takes us to a mystery that challenges the laws of biology themselves, here in the sacred Ngorongoro crater. From the shadows emerged a mysterious giant, known as the lion Calamus. His name means deception, and indeed, he lived to embody its true meaning. He appeared suddenly, enormous in size, with dark fur reminiscent of the extinct Atlas lion. He was not seeking a kingdom, but was a wandering ghost, mating with the females of other kings and then disappearing. In one of his battles, he faced 2 males alone and crushed them, proving he was a force not to be underestimated. Then he vanished, and when he returned, he was barely recognizable. His majestic dark mane had almost disappeared. The most likely theory for his strange transformation suggested extreme stress caused by the pressure of battles and solitary life, which led to a hormonal collapse that stripped him of his crown. And a king without a mane should naturally be an easy target. But Calamus was no ordinary lion. Even without the symbol of his power, he survived and thrived, proving that a lion's true strength does not lie in his mane, but in an unconquerable will. Rank 16, the General, Sultan. From a biological mystery to a strategic one, here in the remote Alatash National Park of Ethiopia, a king built an empire that defied all logic in the wild. His powerful name, Sultan, shone among all, and he became the king who possessed numerous females that stirred the envy of the greatest kings around him. It was the year 2018 when a ranger witnessed an unbelievable scene. A lone male, majestic and astonishing, followed by 16 lionesses. It was strange in a land scarce with lions. Sultan was not merely a beast, he was a decisive leader and a cunning strategist. When 2 rivals attempted to invade his territory, he did not confront them directly. Instead, he used his lionesses as bait, deploying them to lure the invaders into a deadly trap. He eliminated the first with ease, causing the second to flee in terror. But the true secret of his empire was even stranger. All the cubs born in his pride were females. He built an entire pride of 16 lionesses from his own blood, from his daughters and granddaughters. He was a ruler who created his queens himself. Thus, Sultan is on our list because he was not merely a king, but a strategic masterpiece and a remarkable genetic enigma. Rank 15. From the heart of fear, Senzani the hero. He was born in the heart of fear, survived between the fangs of the fiercest beasts in Africa, and his story rose from the ashes of defeat to become, later on, a ghost that inspired both terror and admiration. He is Senzani, the cub who watched his brothers torn apart by the terrifying Mapogo coalition, survived by a miracle to carry his family's legacy on his shoulders. He fought alongside his brother, then lost him in a bloody battle that shattered his heart. Yet he did not break. He returned alone, a ghost that vanished and reappeared like a storm, planting fear among his enemies and igniting the imagination of all who watched him. With intelligence and patience, he built a new generation, a great pride, and cubs destined to survive. He challenged the Matimba, survived Birmingham, and wrote upon his scar-covered body that kings are born from fire, not from comfort. And when age crept into his bones, he faced the end as he faced life, standing tall, a legend that brought tears of pride to the eyes. On October 27, 2017, the ghost lion departed, but he left behind an undying legacy, a king who broke the cycle of defeat and inscribed his name in the records of the Savanna as one of the greatest to ever walk its soil. Rank 14, the white ghost, Casper. Now we prepare for a true miracle. In Kruger National Park, we encounter another legend who defied fate from the very first moment. He is Casper, the white ghost, born with leucism that made his fur white as snow. In the wild, this is a death sentence. He is forced to move without camouflage, becoming a shining target for all. His pride rejected him, and only his mother protected him. All statistics predicted he would not survive. But Casper did not care about statistics. He survived. Then, like a ghost, he disappeared for 6 years, only to return again in 2021, and he was not alone. He returned as an adult, bearing scars that told stories of hidden battles and leading a powerful coalition of 3 males. The lion who was not expected to survive his childhood had now become a majestic king. His story is one of hope and resilience, proving that willpower can defeat the impossible. Rank 13, the giant, fighter. We now ascend to another level of absolute power. In the Okavango Delta, land of giants, where a new generation writes its legacy in blood and fire, we present Fighter, the dominant member of the Bad Boys coalition. If some kings are great through strategy, Fighter was a king through overwhelming strength and massive size. His weight was estimated at over 230 kilograms, making him a true giant. His story is one of bloody conquest. He and his brother Hunter arrived in the Duba Plains and found a vacuum of power. In a single night, they ambushed two rival brothers and killed them in a terrifying and bloody massacre that crowned them undisputed kings. Fighter was not merely a leader, he was likely the largest wild lion alive in his region and era. He represents the peak of physical power and raw violence in our modern age. Rank 12. The Giant Hunter, Renoka. From a giant at the height of his power, to another giant whose story was not defined by conquest, but by desperate and astonishing adaptation. He is King Renoka, the massive beast weighing 250 kilograms. When drought struck his kingdom and his usual prey disappeared, Renoka led his pride in one of the boldest survival strategies ever recorded. They began hunting elephants despite the immense danger in bringing them down. What began as a desperate act turned into a legendary and terrifying specialization, earning them the title of Giant Hunters. But this victory came at a heavy price. The elephants later took revenge and crushed his cubs. Renoka earned his place on our list because his remarkable adaptation ensured the survival of his bloodline in the face of devastating catastrophe and rewrote the rules of hunting in the savannah. Rank 11. The Icon, Bob Jr. We now arrive at the king who embodied perfection. A lion whose life was a masterpiece of power, strategy, and remarkable character. An iconic king whose name became synonymous with the lands of the Serengeti. He is the majestic lion Bob Jr. Son of the legend Bob Marley, he was born to rule. He did not merely defeat his enemies through force, but through intelligence and brilliance. When a coalition of 3 males came to invade his kingdom, he did not confront them directly. Instead, he disappeared and used his knowledge of the land to craft a deadly trap. He isolated them one by one and eliminated them in cold blood. He was also a famous star among visitors, deliberately walking toward safari vehicles to allow them to capture photographs that proved his magnificence and distinction. But as is known, no king, no matter how powerful, can stand against time. When a young, strong, and battle-hungry coalition arrived, Bob Jr. knew his hour had come. He fought his final battle, the only battle he ever lost, falling as the greatest icon of the Serengeti in the last decade. Rank 10. The Resilient Heir, Seikote. Now we enter forbidden territory. The most thrilling and distinguished ranks, reserved for the strongest and fiercest kings. We begin with a prince who carried the blood of greatness, yet fought a battle even his father never faced, a battle against an invisible enemy. He is Seikote, son of the legend Seekama, who was considered one of the strongest kings. His legend and resilience became clear when he was struck by a mysterious illness. The giant began to wither before everyone's eyes. The diagnosis was shocking, an autoimmune disease attacking his body from within. Yet this great lion fought with unprecedented ferocity and defied the pain. Each time he reached the brink of death, he rose again. His lionesses brought him food to keep him strong enough to survive. Seikote fought an epic battle against himself and against enemies waiting for his weakness. He refused submission and weakness in the face of death surrounding him from every direction. Rank 9. Ntwadumela, the Hyena Killer. We now delve into the wild plains of Savuti in Botswana, where the legendary lion Ntwadumela roared like a fiery storm embodying terror and power. His name, meaning the one who revives with fire in Zulu, reflected his explosive and fierce personality. He was small in size but lightning fast, with iron muscles and scars bearing witness to unforgettable battles. With his brother Mandevu, Ntwadumela invaded the Northern Territories in 1988, overthrowing older males and seizing control of the Maomé Pride with an iron grip, transforming the region into a kingdom of terror for his enemies. Ntwadumela was a ruthless hunter, taking down buffalo and young elephants alone, facing challenges with extraordinary boldness. Once, he attacked an enraged elephant at a waterhole. He later earned his most famous title, the Hyena Killer, after waging a personal war against a powerful hyena clan, killing more than 40 hyenas, including their fierce queen, in a bloody battle that lasted hours, crushing her neck with his deadly jaws. His aggression was not senseless, but a fierce defense of his pride against all dangers, protecting cubs from relentless night raids. Yet the epic ended in tragedy in 1992, after he was ousted by younger males and later killed by a trophy hunter's bullet outside the national park, denied a heroic death in battle. Ntwadumela's legacy lives on in a dedicated documentary titled Eternal Enemies, Lions and Hyenas, remaining a symbol of wild courage that conquers fear and inspires generations with a story that can never be erased from memory. Rank 8. From Fear to Dominance. Nkohoma Jr. We now leave everything behind and open the pages of the next thrilling tale, a tale that is not merely a narration about a lion, but an epic of cowardice that turned into ferocity, weakness that became strength, and fear that its owner decided to bury so he could be reborn as a terrifying king. Here, deep in the Sabi sand reserve, where bloodlines mix with ancestry and coalitions smell like seasons, our hero emerged, Nkohoma Jr., the son of the legend Nenha, the last of the Birmingham kings. His path was born from pain. He lost his father, he lost his coalitions, he lost his brothers and his friends, until it seemed as though he was destined to remain a fugitive, cowardly, broken before the fangs of the strongest. But fate did not write for him to vanish into the shadows. After a chain of setbacks, after battles failed him and betrayals burned him, Junior finally decided to reveal his true face, the face of a predator that shows no mercy. He allied with his aging father Nenha to overturn the balance of the conflict. They stormed the Alpha Pride with brutality and brought down powerful rivals, their roars thundering across the plains, announcing the return of royal blood. And with every new confrontation, whether against the Nwaso Chaka lions or Makonda, Junior grew harsher. Despite the scars on his body and the tears of his losses, he was no longer that frightened cub. He became a lion to be feared 1,000 times over, a lion that sends chills when he roars, a lion who learned from fear how to manufacture terror. Nkohoma Jr. is not merely an heir to the Birmingham name, but a symbol of survival against the impossible. A lion who wrote in blood that defeats do not kill. Rather, they ultimately forge a beast that rises to claim its inheritance. It is the tale of the coward who became a legend, and a legend that is still being written on the soil of the Savanna to this very moment. Rank 7, Glory and Power, Ceil. We now plunge into the heart of the African wild, where dust dances beneath Zimbabwe's scorching sun. There, the dangerous plains announce the birth of King Ceil, an unmatched lion with a black mane like a crown and golden eyes like two swords. He led his kingdom with a roar that split the sky and carved his name into the rock of the Hwange Plains. He was a king who knew no fear. He walked through Zimbabwe's wilderness in Hwange National Park to prove he was a symbol of enduring strength, an icon that adventurers traveled from the farthest corners of the earth to witness in his greatness. Since his birth in 2002, Ceil wove a story of glory and challenge. He allied with his son Zanda and led an army of 16 lions, enforcing his control over his kingdom with a roar that shook the earth. He resisted, he prevailed, and even when his own blood betrayed him and he was driven from his throne, he rose again. He joined his old enemy Jericho, and together they wrote a new chapter of dominance, an alliance that shook the plains with the fire of power and the storm of awe. But even great legends are destined to meet tragedy. On a dark night in July 2015, Ceil was lured into a treacherous trap. A poisoned arrow pierced his body, bringing him down not by the strength of a rival, but by the betrayal of man. His death was not merely the end of a lion, but a deep wound in Africa's soul and a cry that shook the world. Ceil, the king who departed at the age of 13, left behind an undying legacy, cubs who carried his blood, and an image carved into history. National Geographic immortalized him in a documentary that tells his story so that his legend remains an unextinguished flame, a symbol of strength that does not break except by deceit, after he forged an epic of a king who shook and terrified the inhabitants of the earth in his life, even as his departure made hearts bleed. Rank 6. The Pretty Boy. Pretty Boy. Imagine entering the heart of the Savanna, where dominance is measured in blood and legends are written over dried grass. There, a lion was born who was not the most violent, nor the loudest in roar, but the smartest, the most silent, and the longest lasting. He is Pretty Boy, the ghost who challenged time and survived a fate that even the greatest kings did not survive. From an exiled cub to part of the fiercest coalition in lion history, the Mapogo, 6 hungry males, life cast them out as individuals, so they united to overturn the wild. Their roars terrified every pride, and the night hyenas fled. They left no cub alive and no king standing. But in their fire, Pretty Boy was different. He fought with the coldness of a strategist, not the obsession of blood. His silence spoke louder than 1,000 roars, and his steadiness made the lionesses trust him more than the beasts among his companions. The coalition grew, then it shattered. Kinky Tail fell, and Mr. T followed with a final roar that tore through the dawn. Then Rasta vanished into the shadows, and Scar was lost between exile and wounds, while Pretty Boy remained only with Makulu, protecting what was left of the Empire's ghosts. Before the kingdom collapsed and the new generation arrived, the Majingilanis, those united young lions who knew no mercy. Pretty Boy did not die the way his companions died. He was not broken in a battle, and he was not buried beneath an enemy's claws. He chose isolation. He survived through caution and patience, becoming a legend walking on 4 legs. He watched the land he once ruled, then watched how it forgot him. Yet he remained a roaming shadow, a thin body carrying hundreds of scars and eyes glowing with the fire of life, until the last day came, when he surrendered himself to the earth beneath a silent tree. No audience, no roar to bid farewell to the world. He departed as he lived, with majestic silence, but his legacy did not vanish. Every roar today, every coalition that dares to rule the Savanna, walks in the footsteps of Pretty Boy and the Mapogo. It is the tale that reminds us that in a world with no mercy, even the fiercest kings fall and legends may break, but the one who stays alive is the one who tells the greatest stories. Rank 5, King of Terror, the Tank, Dreadlocks. We head into the depths of the Sabi sand forest in Kruger National Park, South Africa, where the lion Dreadlocks rose as one of the members of the terrifying legendary Mapogo coalition. This coalition, made up of 6 powerful brothers, controlled a massive territory of 70,000 hectares, turning the region into an empire of terror and dominance, especially between 2006 and 2012. Dreadlocks, also known as Scar or Tank because of his prominent scar and massive muscular body, had a full blonde mane and a broad face reminiscent of the extinct Atlas lions. His exceptional strength enabled him to kill a male buffalo or a giraffe alone, as happened once when he broke his front right leg during a hunt. Yet he defended his prey against more than 20 hungry hyenas with astonishing ferocity, reflecting his aggressive personality and his protective nature toward his brothers and his coalition. Dreadlocks was a core pillar in the coalition's brutal strategy. They killed more than 100 lions, including females and cubs, and then took control of 8 prides. His bloody battles against rival coalitions, such as the Salati, cemented his reputation as a merciless killer, and he directed that power to protect his family. Yet his epic ended in a sad mystery. After the death of his brother Mr. T in 2012, Dreadlocks left the area only to be shot by local hunters, an event that contributed to the collapse of the legendary coalition. With his departure, the fall of the Mapogo Empire began, and the tank lion became a memory carved into the mind of everyone who followed the lion's stories. He was a legend walking on 4 legs, a killer of beasts, and the maker of a golden age that will not be repeated. Rank 4, the terrifying Seikama. And finally, the summit. The number 1 rank is not just a great lion, it is the giant that shaped the concept of power in this era, the name that became the measure by which everyone is compared. He is the icon among lions, coming from the marshes of Savuti, the terrifying lion Seikama. He was not merely a lion, he was a geological event in the form of a beast. His reign was long, bloody, and absolute. He was the biggest, the strongest, and the leader whose name made both lions and hyenas tremble. But his story is also a tragic tragedy about power and the passage of time. We watched him grow old, and we watched his sons covet his throne. Then came the end. The giant fell at the hands of a bloodline as strong as he was, the future he created with his own claws, and then destroyed. Seikama tops the list because his story, in all its vastness, represents everything. Power at its peak, the struggle against aging, and the embodiment of the eternal cycle where the old king makes way for the new king. He was not only the greatest lion of the past decade, but the golden standard by which greatness itself is measured. Each of these kings left an unerasable mark on the land and in our minds, reminding us that the wild is not merely a forest, but a stage for epics more complex and thrilling than any other story, where the echoes of the roars of these 10 giants will resound forever in the spirit of Africa and in the thoughts of followers and visitors. Rank 3, the Mapogo Devil with the mane of death, Mr. T. Once again in the heart of the Savanna, in the terrifying corridors and expanses of Sabi sand, the lion Mr. T, nicknamed the Devil, appeared like a ghost of pure terror to embody absolute brutality. With his unique black mohawk mane, this giant, born in 2001, was a fierce leader in the Mapogo coalition of 6 brothers who invaded thousands of hectares of land inside the Kruger National Park Reserve between 2006 and 2012, turning the wilderness into a graveyard for their enemies. Mr. T, the most aggressive among them, led bloody massacres that killed more than 100 lions, defeating rival coalitions with his deadly jaws, fiercely defending his brothers like a king of darkness who knows no mercy. But despite all that power and dominance, the epic ended in tragedy in March 2012, when the Saladi coalition isolated him and killed him in a bloody battle, painfully dismantling the legendary empire for all followers and visitors. Mr. T's legacy will remain a burning fire, a symbol of barbaric power that terrifies generations and inspires timeless stories. Rank 2, King of Lions, Scarface, the Mara lion who terrified 400 hyenas. We move to the vast plains of the Maasai Mara in Kenya, where the legendary lion Scarface emerged as an unconquerable leader in the famous Four Musketeers coalition, alongside his brothers Morani, Sikia, and Hunter. Born in 2007, he earned the name that carried his legend from a terrifying scar on his face, making him look like a mythical fighter. With a thick black mane and a muscular body weighing 200 kilograms, along with his coalition, he controlled vast territories in Marsh Pride, turning the region into an empire of terror. Scarface alone killed more than 400 hyenas and 130 rival lions, and faced hippos and elephants in bloody battles, fiercely defending his pride. He was gentle with cubs despite being a king of beasts who knew no mercy, ruling for more than a decade until he became the oldest lion in the region at age 14. Before his epic ended in June 2021 with a natural death, leaving an immortal legacy in documentaries and images that capture wild power. Rank 1, the Mapogo leader, the legend Makulu. Let us move to a new bloody epic written on the soil of Sabi sand, an epic that told the story of Makulu, the lost cub who returned to become a legendary leader and the commander of an alliance that terrified Africa, the Mapogo. He was born in 1998 in the Spartan pride and grew up alone and rejected until his muscles became a sword and his heart a volcano boiling with energy and power. He was not merely a lion, he was a storm walking on four. He taught his brothers the meaning of survival and turned them into an army of 6 merciless kings. Since 2005, the Savanna knew no calm. The Mapogo killed, tore apart, and crushed every male who stood in their way. No cub survived, and no female who refused submission was spared. The thunder of their roars echoed like lightning, and their shadows covered the land until all of Sabi sand seemed like one kingdom, with a throne at its center and Makulu upon it. They faced countless coalitions: Split Rock, Roller Coaster, the Majingalanes, the Matimba, and even the Kruger giants. Each time, blood spilled, and Makulu emerged from battle steady, as if he was born to slaughter, not to be slaughtered. Even when his brother Mr. T rebelled, he fought him and defeated him, confirming to everyone that rule is not inherited. It is taken with claws drenched in blood. Yet glory does not last, and age burdens the shoulders that carried wars. Makulu watched his brothers fall one after another, from Rasta to Dreadlocks, all the way to Pretty Boy, until he remained alone in the end, an old, sorrowful lion. Yet he still walked like kings, terrifying to behold, leaving everyone who followed his tracks asking, how did he live through all of this? How was he never broken? The last time he was seen was in March 2013, entering deep into Kruger at the age of 15, yet with a majestic presence as if he were in the prime of his strength. After that, no one knew where his silence was buried. Did he die in the bush, or does his ghost still roam among the trees? Makulu was not an ordinary lion. He was the embodiment of dominance, the leader of an alliance that never and will never be repeated. He is the legend that changed the face of lion history forever. Roaming gangs packed with extremely aggressive males. Together, they kill any roaming male that happens to be nearby. Extremely fierce, they launch violent assaults that do not stop until hours of bloody torment have passed. Even cubs and females might fall victim to this terrifying savagery, unleashed by one of the most notorious lion coalitions in African history. It is the bloody Mapogo coalition, with its warrior who preferred to stay away from the spotlight and fame, even though he was the key to war, the destroyer of beasts, the tank lion Dreadlocks. This lion was so fearsome that the Rangers were forced to kill him to give other prides a chance to survive in an attempt to allow them their share of land and territory. Their chances against this massive lion were utterly non-existent, not only because of his gigantic body, but also because of his unprecedented courage. Nothing could stand in front of Dreadlocks without being destroyed, and he would only hunt the largest of animals. While his brothers targeted rhinos, buffaloes, and smaller prey, he alone would charge into battle with massive, enraged hippos, or climb onto the tallest giraffes to seize their necks, bringing them down bloodied, suffering a slow death in the claws of this terrifying tank beast. From the time he was a cub with his 4 brothers, born into the Sparta pride between 2001 and 2002, they were destined to become a terrifying future for the plains and forests of the Maasai Mara. These cubs were a threat to everyone, even to their own kind, for it is estimated that about 100 lions were killed by this fearsome coalition. Their power grew when they were joined by a lone older male from outside Sparta called Makulu, who came from Kruger National Park. Like the other cubs, he had once faced death early in his roaming life and survived by a miracle. Their lives continued as they learned surprise hunting methods and survival tactics by observing other older lions, especially after the addition of their older brother Makulu, the experienced hunter, who was 2 years their senior. Photographers and filmmakers noticed how unusually united these young lions were. Never before had anyone seen a coalition of 6 powerful lions with no disputes over leadership. The leader of the coalition was simply the eldest brother. After building his massive body, Dreadlocks was content to remain the unknown soldier, the key to war, the crushing lion that ended disputes among his brothers when conflicts began to arise as they grew stronger and more violent, each eager to prove themselves. This was especially true as they dominated different prides of females, each brother trying to demonstrate his ferocity to secure mating rights. Dreadlocks and his brothers had gruesome killing methods. They attacked without mercy, and they managed to control more than 700,000 square kilometers, over half the size of South Africa, for nearly 6 years. At the peak of his youth and strength, Dreadlocks terrified everyone. Alongside his brothers, their coalition was feared by all. No lion dared to meet them, every beast avoided them, and none dared trespass on their territory or even approach their borders. But decline was inevitable, especially as disputes over leadership and power began. Division was the breaking point that would bring an end to the golden years of this terrifying coalition. And indeed, the coalition split into 2 groups. Dreadlocks chose to stay with Makulu, the older and wiser brother, as well as Pretty Boy and Rasta. Meanwhile, Mr. T, nicknamed the Devil for his grotesque savagery, went with his inseparable brother Kinky Tail. This split was the downfall of the Mapogo Empire, a coalition that would forever remain a bloody and terrifying chapter in the history of legendary lions. Yet no lion, despite the division, could dare invade Mapogo territories, especially those ruled by Makulu, supported by the tank Dreadlocks, who alone could repel any intruder unlucky enough to cross into their domain. He would chase them far beyond the borders or rip them apart if they dared to stand against him. The Rangers, who had spent years gathering stories and making documentaries about these lions, especially the terrifying Dreadlocks, had no choice but to end his life, to give new lions a chance to form coalitions that might rise in power and claim some of the fame long dominated by the ferocious Mapogo brothers. The story of the Mapogo truly ended with the death of Dreadlocks. Weakness and division spread among them, and other prides began to take their chances at attacking, seeking revenge and retribution for the many lions that had fallen to the coalition over the years. The story of Dreadlocks will remain etched in the minds of all wildlife lovers for decades to come. Tales will continue to be told about this massive, ferocious lion who created a terrifying history alongside the strongest lions in Africa at that time.
In today's video, we'll delve deeper into the magnificent African wilderness to explore the strongest lion alliances ever. 6th, the Birmingham Boys. In the rugged northern Sabi Sand area of Kruger National Park, a group of lions known as the Birmingham Alliance established their presence. Each member had a unique personality, symbolizing strength and resilience in the African wild. Initially, Nsoko, nicknamed Blondie for his impressive blonde mane, took the lead as the eldest and fiercest. Naturally, Nsoko assumed his leadership role alongside his strong brother Nhenha, brave warrior Tino with broken teeth, and mischievous and aggressive Mfumo, named after a legendary villainous character. They cooperated as blood brothers to protect their territory and secure food collectively. However, life for the Birmingham Lions wasn't always unified. It was a mix of competition and desire for solitary rule. Battles erupted over mating rights and dominance, leading to violent conflicts within the coalition with severe consequences that eventually scattered this powerful alliance. 5th, the Notch Coalition. The Maasai Mara region, with its vast golden plains and immense animal diversity, witnessed a unique lion lineage known as the Notch Coalition. This group of 6 strong males, led by the grizzled male Notch, were angry siblings filled with bloodlust and hunting prowess. Their harmonious teamwork made them elite hunters who decimated many wild animals, including zebras with their high speeds. Their secret weapon was their thrilling collective action. Their roars echoed like thunder across the plains, signaling dominance and power and clearly expressing their bravery and control over the area. Led by Notch and his fierce sons, they were always effective attackers and seasoned warriors in battles. Spanning over 1,000 square kilometers, their prey-rich kingdom was highly contested by other beasts. Thus, it was inevitable that this kingdom would fall. As Notch aged, signs of weakness appeared, and his roar turned to whispers. He stayed close to his sons, trying to survive as long as possible before his reign broke forever. However, some sons fell in battles, and others disappeared for unknown reasons, hastening the end of this coalition that left its mark and genes across Maasai Mara that will undoubtedly re-emerge in strong alliances. Fourth, the Matimba Lions Coalition. The formation of the powerful Matimba Coalition and its emergence in the Sabi Sand area was a very frightening era, which lasted from 2010 to 2017. These 6 lions were famous for their strength and ferocity, forming regional invaders, aggressors, and usurpers of many lands from other lion coalitions. This group originated in the Ngala Reserve, where their journey of dominance began in 2010 when they moved to Manyaleti, successfully expelling the dominant lions to establish their own territories and lands that extended across Kruger National Park to Ngala Reserve and on to Sabi Sand. The strategic decision by this coalition to move not only showed their adaptability, but also their understanding of the surrounding environment and how to take the best steps for dominance and expansion. The Matimba Coalition's ability to work collectively in coordinated hunting operations played a crucial role in their success. It also allowed them to cooperate effectively, not just in hunting, but also in defending their territories from potential threats. However, internal divisions and the mysterious disappearance of one of the lions named Nduna in 2012 led to a shift in Matimba's strategies. By 2013, conflicts within the coalition, along with the emergence of young lions, led to a split into 2 factions: the Northern Matimbas, which included Shaka, Slitnose, and Whiteface, and the Southern Matimbas, which included Hairy Belly and Ginger, known for their hostility and frequent clashes with rivals. The Northern Matimba era began to fade once one of the males was killed in 2015, while another was killed by rival males in 2017. The last Northern Matimba was seen spending time with the Skoro Pride around Tamboti area and eventually died of old age as he appeared weak. Meanwhile, in 2018, the Southern Matimba lions were spotted on the western side of Sabi Sand, an area left by the Majingilane coalition after their death. Soon after, the southern lions were seen mating with Oawa lionesses and later sired many cubs, expanding and mating with other known prides such as Talamati, Mibri, Nkohoma, Torchwood, Skoro, and Red Road. Later on, Ginger Matimba suffered from a severe type of mange and was seen struggling with the disease for some time, but eventually died, leaving Hairy Belly as the last remaining Matimba lion. Third, the Salati Males Coalition. In the diverse competitive landscape of western Sabi Sand region emerges another one of the fiercest and most bloodthirsty coalitions. Despite its recent existence and short history of spread, it has made its own violent glory in this vast place. It is the Salati Coalition that came as a terrifying force dominating many areas of the reserve from 2015 to 2017 in a deadly and swift manner. Named after the Salati River that flowed through their territory, this coalition formed an enduring legacy. Their rise to prominence was not easy. The Salati brothers strategically collaborated to overthrow the Mapogo coalition that ruled the area at that time. The scene of fierce battles was terrifying, especially after Mapogo members scattered and struggled among themselves, leading to successful takeover of their territories and expulsion from the list of dominant predators in the region. The unity and strength of Salati coalition became the cornerstone of their clear dominance, embodying sophisticated strategies of lion societies. For 2 years, the Salati males held their territory with an iron grip. They sired many cubs and reinforced their status as formidable and terrifying predators that are difficult to confront. However, their reign was not without challenges. Territorial disputes arose from other coalitions that began to emerge frequently in the area, forming the kind of massive competition for place like the Majingilane and Birmingham males, which were constant threats. In addition, some internal conflicts within the group's entity led to one of the lions leaving the coalition in 2016. The tragedy for the coalition increased in 2017 when a member of the coalition fell victim to attacks by Matimba and Majingilane lions, while another succumbed to illness, leaving the remaining 2 Salati brothers in a clear state of weakness. as their strength was in their union. The younger lion persevered for a short time, but eventually faced too much challenge and competition that led to his overthrow by the Birmingham males in 2018. This marked the end of the strong Salati coalition. Secondly, the Majingalanes coalition. The Majingalanes coalition gained a terrifying reputation in their movements and incursions into territories and occupying areas, where this coalition's lions always moved towards their goal without ever deviating from their path. They were raised in Manyaleti Reserve, where they were known for their skills in hunting large prey, especially buffalo. After this quintet coalition's cubs were born between 2004 and 2005, they set out on their own in 2009, heading south towards Sabi Sand. Their choice to stay together played an important role in asserting their presence and enhancing their status everywhere they set foot. Therefore, they always roared on their way of migration, looking for new challenges to test their immense strength. Salala Pride was the first group targeted by the Majingalanes. They caused many victims who tried to confront them. Only the 4 younger lionesses along with their mothers managed to survive. By 2010, the 2 adult lionesses had surrendered to the coalition and chose to mate with what was previously considered the enemy. In this harsh environment, the law of survival of the fittest prevailed for the group and the strongest to ensure the continuation of the herd. The Majingilana's lions became stronger and more violent, with a darker and thicker mane that indicated their immense strength, gradually dominating more territories. This dominance continued for more than 7 years, representing an important chapter in the pages of glory they wrote over the years. They firmly controlled a vast area of Sabi Sand Reserve, estimated at 26,676 hectares, during the peak of their influence. Firstly, the Mapogo Alliance. We've reached one of the most ferocious alliances that dominated and marked their territory and history with blood. With a group of massive, fierce, and battle-scarred lions known as the Mapogo, this terrifying group of males born in South Africa, specifically in the vast Sabi Sand area of Kruger National Park, was one of the most fearsome types of lions over the years, from 2004 to 2012. This alliance was famous for its unprecedented strength and violence and its unparalleled killing methods. They also controlled an area of about 70,000 hectares. What distinguishes the Mapogo Alliance is its harsh reputation, which led to a bloody history documented by killing more than 100 lions and cubs in just 1 year, a number that could be higher considering the vast areas they patrolled. At its peak, the alliance consisted of 6 fierce males, had a special impact on the place, and did not distinguish between a cub of their offspring or their brother's offspring. They killed for the sake of killing only, with an insatiable hunger for violence and blood. In the early months of 2004, 5 cubs, along with the veteran warrior and leader Makulu, left their pride to begin a series of challenges to survive in the wild, in addition to learning exciting hunting and killing methods. They formed a formidable bond through their unity, staying together, thereby increasing their chances of survival. After gaining strength and becoming successful and skilled hunters, they set out to dominate and discover their immense power. Their large size and excellent experience in taking down huge prey enabled them to face the fiercest competing beasts, especially other lion alliances coveting their place. They also demonstrated their ability to adapt and excel in overcoming challenges in their vast territories. On March 16, 2012, a pivotal moment in the overall competitive landscape of the Sabi Sand area was revealed when a new alliance of 4 male lions known as Salatis entered the territory controlled by the Mapogo lions. This marked the beginning of a significant shift in the region's balance of power. Many challenges emerged at that time, especially after an internal conflict led to the fragmentation and division of the alliance. In another decisive confrontation, a group of powerful Majingilane lions appeared and began trying to overthrow the Mapogo members through their tactical prowess and ferocity. The youthfulness and vitality that were one of the reasons for their ability to face the terrifying Mapogo. The fall of alliance members one after another, especially Mr. T, marked a turning point in Mapogo's dominance. The last 2 lions from the group, Old Makulu and Pretty Boy, found themselves engaged in a fierce confrontation. It led to their withdrawal into Kruger National Park's territory, trying to stay away from danger as much as possible. However, they faced Kruger's lions, who eventually overthrew them, declaring an end to an era of one of the most brutal and bloody lion alliances.